Welcome to r/NuclearRevenge, where people get what they deserve in an extreme way. The first story was posted by Rumpelforeskin990. Guy does $2,000 damage to my car, steals my best friend's motorcycle while recovering from dental surgery, and gets whole life destroyed for years. This happened several years ago. But first, let's meet the cast. There's me, best friend, and of course the star of the show, Scumbag. First, a little background. There was this homeless, he wasn't truly homeless, scumbag who I was sheltering in my house while he looked for a place to stay. I wanted to help him out and help him back on his feet. He had been problematic for a while. He was crapping in the trash can, peeing in soda bottles everywhere, and lying to everyone all the time. He was not even good at lying, he was one of those pathological liars who cannot tell the truth to save their life. And when he got a BB gun, he shot out my neighbor's window, and this will become relevant at the end. The list of sketchy stuff Scumbag did could go on for days, but that's not what I'm writing this about. Though it certainly does factor into the revenge. Now, on to the main event. While one of my buddies needed a ride to the train station and I was too tired to drive, so I let him take my car and drive him to the train station. When he came back, my front bumper was on the ground and he duct taped it back on. He claimed that he was T-boned at an intersection and injured his leg. He went to the hospital, faked his injury, and came back with crutches so I would buy it. When I asked the police in the town, he said it happened in whom he said he had filed a report with, and they told me no such event had been reported and they had no clue what I was talking about. I later found out, through my buddy who was in the car with him, that he was doing donuts in a parking lot and hit a tree. So, shame on me for letting someone drive my car, I know. It was a very stupid decision on my part, and the cost of repairing my car came out to be $2,000, and I could not get insurance to cover it, so the repairs came out of my pocket. So I gave him the benefit of the opportunity to make things right and said, alright, pay for the cost of repairs and I will forgive the transgression. He already had a minimum wage job, so I expected him to pay me every week until it was paid off. After 2 weeks, he stopped, so I took his PS3 and save as collateral and said I would give it back when he paid me back, and if he didn't, I would sell it to cover the costs. A few weeks later, my best friend who was also staying with me had his wisdom teeth removed and he was in a ton of pain. That dental pain is the worst. Scumbag said he needed to go to the store. He let Scumbag take the bike to the grocery store, but after a while we became suspicious. He called saying the bike would not start. I drove over to the store he said he was at, and he and the motorcycle were nowhere to be found. The store was 10 minutes away. We called him and said, bring it back now or else we will report it stolen. When he came back later that evening with a girl, and he made up a BS excuse as to why the motorcycle had 130 miles on the odometer. The way he told it made it clear he had no clue how mechanical odometers work. They don't glitch and jump ahead 130 miles like he said it did. My best friend would know he's constantly pulling his bike apart and making repairs and modifications to it. I grilled him about the fact that he was never where he said he was, and we deducted that he had rode the bike to his hometown to pick up his girlfriend and back and lied about everything. That was the last straw that broke the camel's back, and a very bad mistake. My best friend and I were trembling with rage when he threw him and his girl out the front door to the curb. This is where the nuclear revenge begins. Scumbag was dumb enough to leave all of his passwords saved on the laptop we loaned him while he was with us. We got his email and changed the password. Once you've got someone's email, you have got everything else by default. We got his social media accounts and financial accounts and reset their passwords too. It was hysterical, seeing the flurry of password reset emails coming in. He knew we had him in the bag and was frantically trying to salvage his situation. He had opened a bank account at the local bank to deposit his paychecks from his local cashier job while he was in the area. We emptied the whole thing for a total of $2,500. Imagine my shock. I kept the $2,000 for my car and gave the remaining $500 to my best friend for his troubles and having my back. We then sold his PS3 on Craigslist and split that 50-50. We eventually opened his safe and it was full of random papers and earbuds of no value. But it did have his debit card and one of the papers had his PIN on it, which is how we emptied his bank account. In addition to that, while he's on the way out, I go to the store he was working at and tell his boss he won't be showing up this afternoon and to consider him to be quit. I explained why and the manager was cool about it, but he told me he cannot take my word for it. In any event, he was never seen at that establishment again. So sooner or later, that manager was going to have to take my word for it. But we are not done yet. We still have a social life to destroy. We hijack his Facebook and make all of his friends hate him. We make posts about the crappy stuff he did, and also we make posts about him eating his own poop. We make posts exclaiming his love of all manners of debauchery and degeneracy. We start petty fights with his friends list in the DMs. We go onto their walls and say snarky nasty crap. We turned everyone against him. And in the process of destroying his social life, a bunch of girls he abused and who lurked on his page came out praising us for taking him down a peg. It's been years and he still doesn't have a social media presence. A few weeks go by and we get a package in the mail from him. It turns out he was not homeless and completely out of options like he said. Big surprise, I know. The package was mailed from his parents' house and it's an empty thread to sue me, overflowing with hilariously made up lies and pages of screenshots of what we did to his social media. Me and best friend are laughing our asses off reading it. He said he left town because the bills were too much. He never did sue us and we even taunted his bluff with our new Facebook account. The reason why he thought this would fly is the neighbor threatened to sue us over the window he broke and we paid for the replacement window. So he thought that the mere threat of a lawsuit would be enough to put an end to the revenge. I still have his lawsuit letter because I like to read it for a good chuckle every now and then. I am thinking of framing it on my wall as a trophy. Last I heard, he's a complete destitute and has zero friends now that everyone knows how much of a terrible person he is. Even his parents got sick of his manipulative behavior. His girlfriend did not take long to wise up and apologize to us. So what's the real lesson of the story? Protect the ever-loving crap out of your email because that's all anyone needs to gain access to everything else you do and completely ruin you. Also, don't save your passwords on the computers of the people you are screwing over. Ripe stars, have you ever been hacked or has your email ever been compromised? Tell us in the comments. Also, if you have watched until here, then post some stars in the comments to let me know that you are a loyal subscriber. Bye bye restaurant. First story, not an English native speaker. This happened very recently and I feel pretty good about it, to be honest. So I took a job working in a popular restaurant as I needed the money to achieve a lifelong dream. I've previously worked at other restaurants and have a culinary degree as well. The owner is a good person and those he has got hired in the kitchen, however, are not. To give a bit of background, they leave meat, fish, pasta and sauces out in the open in uncovered containers with the back door fully open, allowing bugs and other things to enter and do as they please with the food. They also do not keep vegetables cooled down and have them set out close by to the stove, which is obviously very unsanitary. I did what any sensible person would, despite being new, and told them how wrong it is and that it could kill someone. Their reply was that I could shut up and respect the elders, and the owner sadly protected these practices. When it comes to teaching me the dishes, I spent my first day just observing how they made the dishes that were ordered, and the following day I was actually starting to help cooking the food. Now, I did exactly how they did it after my day of observation, and yet it was somehow wrong. And despite me doing it the way they showed me how to do it after the first time, they claimed it was wrong, it was still wrong, and they shoved me out of the kitchen. They even went to the owner and complained that I am useless and that they don't believe in me and that I am just a dumb fat guy who belongs on a couch eating myself to death, among other much worse words. The owner came to me and told me what they had told him, but he did say that he believed in me, so that's reassuring at least. I know there can be a very harsh tone in the kitchen and I'm used to it, but not that harsh. I continue to take the abuse for another week. Should I note that I also deal with anxiety issues, so not breaking down in front of them took a lot of energy. And I decided that enough is enough, so I sneakingly took pictures of the kitchen with the unsanitary methods and sent an anonymous letter to the food safety department with the pictures. After 2 days, they show up unannounced and declare the place a health hazard, forcing the owner to throw all food as they were not sure how much had been tainted and they did not want to take risks. He also had to pay a very hefty fine. I must admit, I felt bad at first because I liked the owner, but I had to do something about the other cooks as well as teach the owner a lesson about the unsanitary things. The cooks got sacked, and as they were immigrants and no longer had a job, and it meant they could not stay in the country and they will most likely be deported back to where they came from. I had to leave shortly thereafter too, as the owner could not afford to pay wages after that fine, and at least those cooks got what they deserved. I am positive about finding a new job soon, I hope, as there is kind of a deadline for earning enough money for that dream I have. As mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of Gordon Ramsay and his cooking shows, and what the OP just described pretty much happens in every episode of Kitchen Nightmares, which is a great show and you should watch it. And by the way, what is your favorite cooking show on TV? Sometimes I really enjoy watching cooking shows, especially while eating, so maybe you can recommend me some in the comments. Either way, that's all the content I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe and like the video to help me out. I hope you have an amazing day and I see you later.